First of all, are there any questions? You can ask them on the chat. Any questions on what we have discussed till now? Several of you are sending in saying there are you are having difficulties and the course is going too fast. So I will slow down uh, and we will go over the material that people find difficult again. Also, we have a help session today in the night at 10 on Blackboard Ultra. So those of you who are having difficulties should join the session. Okay, so we have test cases with our assignments. All right, I will add test cases with the assignments. Uh, can I explain the gauss.c file again? Okay, we'll do that. Can you explain the .o files and executable again? Okay. All right, so let's get to this. I'll share my screen now. Okay, so yeah, so in class, please stop me if you have any difficulty and ask questions, right? Uh, so let me begin. With the Gauss.c. Don't bother about the quiz. We'll look at it whether it is late or not. It could have something to do with the clock. Your the clock uh, may be slightly off. So okay, so let's. So I hope you all understand the way the Gaussian method works, right? So if you look at a system like this of linear equations, okay, so you have now this is something that all of you have done in your class 12, right? Solving linear equations like this. So if you have a set of linear equations like this, you can think of writing this in the form of a matrix. So you can think of this as a coefficient matrix a12, a11, a12, etc. till a1n, okay, and so on till an1, an2, so on till ann. So this is a square matrix. Then you have a vector here, which is the vector of unknowns x1, 2xn, and this is equal to b1 to bn. Okay, so I'll explain the code, just hang on for a minute. Just a moment, this pen is creating trouble. Okay, so the first part of the Gauss code, and I will discuss the code in a minute, transforms this matrix into an upper triangular matrix. It basically converts this into a matrix which is, say, A11 dash, all of this, because we all transformed this. I will not write the x's here, and this is something which is added on as another column in the A matrix, right? So this, let us say we call B1 dash. This is added on as another column, so this is equal to A1 n plus 1, okay, and so on. So all these, it's kind of triangular, so all of these are, this is Bn dash is equal to An n dash, and this whole thing is added on here. So this becomes a matrix of size n rows and n plus 1 columns, and all of these are 0. Okay, this part is called uh, elimination. So the code is divided into these two parts. So first you go from this matrix here to the matrix here. Once you have got this, then you do a step called back substitution, because now you can find the value of xn. So this whole row is now here, remember. So xn is going to be just an plus 1 prime, which is nothing but bn prime, divided by an n prime. So you have got xn. You go to the previous row will have an minus 1, n minus 1, and n minus 1 n, where this is clearly multiplying xn, right? Because this is this into x1, next into x2, so on. So this into xn minus 1 and this into xn. So now only this is only xn minus 1. So here is xn minus 1 and here is xn. You already know xn. This is the only unknown left. So now you can take this, take it to the right hand side and divide by this. And you can keep doing this process called back substitution to finally solve the set of linear equations. Substitution. Okay. Now let us look at the code. Okay, now so so this is the eliminate step. Okay, in the eliminate step there are two parts to it. So the first part, of course, is you are doing this for each row, right, from 0 to n minus 1, and for each, so you start with a particular pivot element. Okay, so you start the pivot element and you go to the elimination row, right? So if you remember here, we start with, let's say, this row, then you eliminate from the next row, that is a row a2 starting with a21, then you eliminate from a31, then you eliminate, and so on. So basically what you are doing is you are starting in this column, and this is your pivot element, right? So imagine that you divide this by the pivot element value a11, multiply by the negative of a21, so this whole thing becomes minus a21. So, and add this. So these are the elementary row operations we discussed, right? Multiplying a row by a constant and adding it to another row. So that is the main operation that you do for elimination. So if you have something like a11, x1, and so on, what you are doing is you are dividing this whole equation by a11, so this becomes 1, and below this is a21, x1, and so on. Then you multiply it by minus a21, so this whole thing becomes minus a21, and then you add this row, which is called the pivot row, and this one, right? So now minus a21 x1 plus a21 x1, so add this to this row, so this whole thing becomes 0. And repeat this with all the rows. So all the rows a31, a41, 51 till an1 becomes 0, right? Then choose the next row as the pivot row. Okay, so then you will choose this row as the pivot row. Notice that this has already become 0. Okay. So that is the process of elimination, right? So what do? You take the row, so you have two rows. You have the pivot row which you are using for multiplying with a constant and adding this pivot row after the multiplication with the constant to the elimination row, the row from which you are eliminating. Okay, so pivot row is divided by the same, by the value aii. So when ith row is pivot row and let's say jth row is the elimination row, so you divide by aii, right? And so divide by this and multiply by a, j, and I, right? So divide the pivot row. So basically divide the pivot row by aii and multiply the pivot row by minus aji, minus aji. So once you do that, the element in the pivot row the becomes minus aji, minus aji, right? And the elimination row has the element aji. So when you add this and this, it becomes 0, right? And you do this, and that's what the code is doing. If you see the first one here, this is the pivot row, and this one is the elimination row. Okay. Now, since we are dividing by the pivot element aii, this element cannot be 0, right? This element cannot be 0. And that is what is happening in this whole thing, exchange. So basically if a row is 0, then there is no way you can divide by 0, you will get an overflow. So you actually try to find a row which is non-zero in that column. So if you have a matrix, for example, where you have a 0 in the pivot row. So let's say let's say everything before this is 0, so you are at AII, and here it goes to AIN, and you are looking at some row at this place in this column, let's say some row here, let's say AJI to AJN, right? So this is your pivot row, this is your elimination row. Now you are going to divide this whole row by AII. Okay, so this will be divided by AII. Everything here will be divided by AII and multiplied by minus AJI. So AII cannot be 0. So this cannot be 0, right? So if it is 0, for example, if this element is 0, then you search for an element in this column such that it is not 0 and exchange the two rows. So you recall that that is the other elementary row operation. So that is the other elementary row operation you have. And then that becomes the pivot row. So that is the operation that you are doing here from line 18 to line uh, 32. So a lot of the space here is actually just checking that if A row is 0, so this obviously is not done if A row is not 0, right? So if A row is 0, you are finding a particular row where the pivot element is not 0 here, and then if you find such an element, you break, which means you go outside this loop, and then this is the place where you are doing the exchange, right? You're storing it in temp, and you're doing it for the entire row. Okay. Note that actually to the left of the element things are already 0, so you don't have to bother left of the element. So it starts from row and goes up to column less than or equal to n. Okay, less than or equal to n because the b's have been added to the A matrix. So it's a n cross n plus 1 matrix. So this whole code from 18 to 31 is simply ensuring that the pivot row has a non-zero pivot. Okay, and once that has been ensured, this is doing the elimination, right? So notice that you are dividing by A row, this is the pivot element, multiplying by minus AI row, this is the elimination row value, right? So no, that's what I was telling you here. Maybe I should give better names here. So this row is the pivot row, and I stands for the elimination row. And that's all you're doing. So you're just eliminating, right? So you're doing Aij is plus equals C times A row ij. So you're simply multiplying the pivot row by the constant and adding it to the elimination row. And you're guaranteed that it is going to be 0. So instead of actually, since these values are real numbers, I'm just saying that I know this will be 0, so I'm making it 0. Okay? And I'm starting from row plus 1. And the corresponding values for the coefficients in that row will be these. Aij will be Aij plus C times rho j. So A rho j is the pivot row, this is the pivot row, and this you are doing it for all columns in the elimination row, right? So this will ensure that AI row is 0. So one more 0 has come, and then you keep doing this until you have finished the elimination process. So at the end of the elimination process, you have a triangular matrix. Once you have the triangular matrix, then this back substitute is exactly what I showed you. when we switch to rows, shouldn't we multiply the matrix with -1? No. See, notice that what you are doing here is you're trying to solve linear equations, right? So if you look at the linear equation here, how does it matter whether this equation is written here? So take some equation. Say, for example, supposing this is the ith row, ai1 etc. till a in equal to bi. Okay, so all the x's are there. So here it is x1 and so on. Here it is xn, and these are all added together. Okay, similarly there's a jth row here. So j1x1 plus etc. till ajn xn equal to bj. Right? These are equations. Now, if I exchange this with this, how does it change the solution of the equations? It doesn't, right? Please remember, you are multiplying by -1. If you are calculating the determinant, if you are calculating, then yes, it gets multiplied by -1. Every swap of a row or a column multiplies a determinant by -1. If you are solving for the unknowns, that is, you are doing a solution of linear equations, then there is no need to do any -1, right? Because if you just interchange, this is a system of linear equations. The order in which the equations have been written does not change anything. And all that is happening when you interchange two rows during the triangulation process, at no point are we calculating determinants. Is simply that this row comes here and this row comes here and this row goes there. So the values for one etc. do not change, right? Because these are just saying that if you multiply aj1 x1 and so on, you get bj, and this is saying that if you multiply x1 by a y1 and so on and so forth, you will get bi. So if I interchange these two, that does not change at all. So in the Gaussian elimination process, exchanging does not lead to any multiplication by -1, because we are not computing the determinant. If you're computing the determinant, yes, you are right. Then you have to multiply. Okay. So so this is what is the whole code. Okay? The rest of the code is simply reading things and all that. Okay, so inside the main, you basically have the main two things: eliminate, which converts it into a upper triangular matrix, and then back substitute, which actually solves the equations. Okay, the rest of it is simple reading and writing. So are there any questions on Gaussian elimination? In the Gauss-Jordan method, how will we make the diagonal elements 1? Just by dividing by the diagonal. So let's get the Gauss-Jordan method. Okay, so in what are we doing in Gauss elimination? We are converting to a triangular matrix. So writing this as a1n plus 1, this is the same as b1, remember. Okay. Similarly, we have ann plus 1, which is the same as bn. Okay. So these are the right hand sides of the equation. So in the Gauss-Jordan method, you do the same process, except remember it in the Gauss elimination method, what we are doing is we are starting with this as our pivot row. Then we are eliminating everything from here to here. Okay, then we take the next row, that is, this becomes our pivot row, and again we are eliminating. So let us say this has become a 2 dash after the elimination. Then everything below this you are eliminating. Okay, all right, we'll discuss this. I mean, we are going to discuss assignment 5 in the night today. So for those of you who are having difficulty, we can discuss this. Please join the help session at 10 p.m. tonight. Okay, I'll make the assignments easier. Uh, so do give me feedback if you are finding difficulty. Tell me that you are finding difficulty. We have been having a sequence of help sessions. Do attend those sessions and ask questions where you have problems. That is the way to, understand what's happening. And I will go slower. Okay, we will come to all that. The all quizzes have been submitted after the 20-minute interval. Okay, so if you did not actually submit it, it would have automatically submitted it. You may have read the instructions and all that, where it says that at the end of 20 minutes it submits. Okay, so now let us look at the Gauss-Jordan method. So what you have that is that instead of simply splitting everything, instead of eliminating everything below the pivot element, you eliminate everything both below and above. Okay. So instead of having a triangular matrix, and you will have a diagonal matrix. Okay, so instead of having a triangular matrix, you are going to have a diagonal matrix. So all you have to do is, in the Gauss elimination code, instead of going from this row to this row, so you are going, so in the Gauss elimination, what is happening? Things are already 0 before you, and you are starting, let's say this is your pivot row now. So you are here and this is your elimination row. You are zeroing out from here to here, right? So if you are starting in this row, then your elimination row is starting from the next row, and then going next after this. So starting at I plus 1 and going up to the last row. For Gauss-Jordan, what you have to do is, except for this row, you also have to zero out things above it. Okay. In Gauss elimination, you are zeroing out only the coefficients which are below the pivot. In the Gauss-Jordan, you are zeroing out not only things below, but also the things which are above. Okay. So this can either become 1 if you wish, or it can become remain AI, whatever is the value. Okay. So let this be AII, this can remain AII, but the net result is that this whole matrix becomes a diagonal matrix. So it will become something like, say, A11 dash, everything here is 0 except A1 n plus 1 dash. Similarly for everything. So all diagonal elements are non-zero. up to ANN dash and have AN n plus 1 dash. Everything here is 0. All these things are 0. So now it is trivial to do back substitution, right? You simply have to divide ANN plus 1 dash by ANN, AN minus 1 n plus 1 dash by AN minus 1 n minus 1 and so on. So just divide the right hand side by the diagonal element. So back substitution becomes trivial. The rest of the code is exactly like the Gaussian code. The elimination, etc., same thing. You cannot eliminate if the pivot element is not, the pivot element is 0 for the same reason, because the elimination is exactly happening in the same way. So all the change you have to make in the Gauss code is to basically ensure that zeroing happens not just below but also above. Rest of the code, elimination code, remains the same. Okay, so the rest of the remains the same. Okay, so all of you who are writing various things in the chat, please come to the help session and we'll discuss it. Okay, so the aim of the course is not to intimidate you with programs, it is to make you good programmers. I mean, the whole idea is that all of you should learn how to program well. It is not to leave anyone behind. So in all the help sessions, very few people are coming. So it is very hard to figure out that some of you are finding it hard. If they are finding it hard, those help sessions are announced. Please attend them. Okay, and let us discuss all these issues regarding the labs and all that in the help session. That is the whole idea of having the help session. We are having a help session every week. Let's not interrupt the class with all of this. Yeah, so all of you, I request to attend the help session. I'll take feedback from all of you, and we will try to recalibrate the course so that it is easier on everyone. Help session is, it looks like none of you read the emails or the announcements. I'm repeating this again and again and again, and it looks like you don't read the emails, right? The help session is today, Saturday, today at 10 p.m. on Blackboard Ultra. Okay, so I hope this part is clear. Why the Gauss-Jordan method is actually just like Gauss elimination method. The only major difference, well, two differences. One major difference is that you are zeroing out the entire column except the pivot element. Okay. In Gauss elimination, you are zeroing out everything below the pivot element only. So you get a triangular matrix. In the Gauss-Jordan, you are zeroing out the whole column except the pivot element. So the pivot element is always the diagonal element. So what happens is you get a diagonal matrix. Everything else is zero, only the diagonal matrix. Right? So the net result is simply a diagonal matrix equal to the right hand side. So all you have to do is divide the right hand side by each diagonal element and you have your answer. Okay. So we will go over these things in the help session. Are there any other questions? I have not seen. Yeah, I see. It's okay to use. Some of you are using code blocks, VS Code, and so on. But I urge you to understand how the whole thing works, because later on we'll be discussing the make utility and so on. So it's important to understand how the GCC compiler works, because that is the way in which most compilation happens, right? So it's okay for your labs, etc., to use code blocks or to use VS Code or to use the online thing. But it is important to understand from the command line exactly what is happening. Otherwise, these IDEs will leave you without knowing what is happening at the back. Okay. Uh, Are there any questions regarding the material? I mean, what we are discussing in class. So wherever there are difficulties about the material that we discussed in class, let us sort those things out in the class, and anything related to the lab and the quiz and all that we will discuss in the help session. Okay, we'll discuss all these things in the help session. Okay, so I hope this was clear. I have not covered anything new today. I just went over the Gaussian elimination, and we will kind of, I'll go over the matrix part all over again next week so that nothing new is covered. Okay, I will also discuss a little more about uh, how a computer actually works. Some of you have said that you don't know anything about how a computer works, so we will discuss a little bit about how a computer works for our purposes, right? For our purposes means when it actually runs a program. Okay, so there is a question which says we are declaring the array in the function, why don't we write a and n instead of a n? So when you are passing an array when you're passing an array, you are passing different sized arrays, right? So the size of the number of rows, because we are storing it in a row major form, remember. So row major form means you're writing the first row, then so this is the first row, then elements of the second row, then elements of the third row, and so on. So how many so basically C requires you to say how big the whole main array will be, right? And that's why when you declare it in main, you declare it like this. So you say, if it's an int array, you will say int a n n. Okay, more recent versions of C allow you to have variable length arrays, but we are not working with that right now. We are working with a slightly older version of C, which is called C89. And there you have to declare the size of the array beforehand, right? Beforehand means at compile time, when your program is being compiled, the compiler should know how much space the array will occupy. So you do this. Okay, so you cannot have more than n rows. When you're calling the function, okay, so you're passing it into some function f, then you can you pass the thing just as a, right? So this array need not be completely filled. You will have maybe n rows, which is less than n. However, because it is being stored row wise, you need to know how many columns there are, because you have to have that many columns here, that many columns here. So because the total number of elements will be n into n, right? So it is going to store n elements here, then store the next n elements here, then store the next capital N elements here, and so on. So n elements, then n elements, then n elements. So if your array is only n cross n, then it will store up to here, and these will be blank. It will store from here to here, the small n, and these will be blank. Okay, similarly it will store from here to here, and these will be blank. So basically what is happening is your entire matrix inside the computer is looking like this, n cross n, stored row wise. And when you look at the matrix that you have passed into the function, it's a smaller one. So it is going to look like this, right? This is smaller, n. So these are empty. All these columns are empty. Similarly, all these rows are empty, right? This is n cross n. So I need, because in the computer it is stored row wise, I need to declare what is the number of columns that must be stored. So that is why when you pass it, you declare it, or the formal argument inside a function, right? When you define a function, let's say we say void f, and we want to declare this, then here I don't have to declare anything, because the number of rows is something that can be variable, but the number of columns has to be fixed, because this is going to be passed column by column, right? It is stored column by column. So I must, sorry, row by row. So I must know how many columns to have, then how many columns to have, because if you don't do that, then the uh, access will become wrong, right? So if I say ij, and if there aren't n elements here, because it's stored linearly, first row, then second row, so on. So inside the computer, it is actually going up to this point before the next row starts. So when you say I want the 2 1 element, it has to finish up to here, then pick up the first element from the second row. So it must know what is the size of this. However, for the row, there is no problem. You can have as many rows up to a maximum of n. So for the first argument, you don't need to declare it. But the second argument, you need to say what is the actual number of columns that is being passed. Otherwise, your access will go wrong, right? Because it's inside a computer, everything is linear. It is mapped to a linear memory. Yeah, I'm afraid. Okay, so that's why I'm saying come to the help session. The help sessions don't have a 250 limit, and you are allowed to unmute your mic and ask questions. The main class has to have a large class limit, and the large class limit, Blackboard actually puts the constraint that you cannot use the mic, right? That is not something I can change. So that is why we are having these help sessions. Please attend the help session. Okay, so I'll see you at night today.